Signing day did not turn out like Viger's Darius Philon had planned. The talented defensive lineman had committed, of course, to Alabama, but now is headed to Arkansas. Philon was squeezed out, in a sense, by the new scholarship rule in the SEC that won't allow a team to sign more than 25 players each year. Philon had known for a couple weeks he was going to have to wait a year to play at Alabama, and frankly seemed a little stressed today. Still putting on the Alabama cap this morning. His teammate, Jamichael Finley, is going to Arkansas, and late this afternoon, without even visiting Fayetteville, Philon signed with the Hogs, so the three-star defensive lineman will join his Viger teammate right there in the SEC. Alabama coaches had to wait a little while for the big prize today. Five-star safety Landon Collins, whose mother so desperately wanted him to sign with LSU, was one of the last to send a letter to Alabama. Of course, the three big recruits right here already enrolled and on campus. Daphne's five-star running back TJ Yeldon, that guy Ryan Anderson, a four-star defensive end, and they're joined by Davidson's big lineman Alphonse Taylor, who will likely play on the defensive line for Nick Saban. I mentioned Collins. He wasn't the only big get on signing day for the Tide. A couple of defensive linemen pick Alabama today, Dalvin Tomlinson and Corin Curvin. Secondary, a place they really wanted to address. They get Travell Dixon, a JC kid, and Collins, I mentioned, could contribute immediately. Reggie Ragland, Scout's top-rated middle linebacker. Eddie Williams, a five-star athlete. Cyrus Jones, a five-star wide receiver. A couple of playmakers for Saban and his staff. But this group very strong on defense.
Even though we have some good defensive players here, we felt that it was really important to have a really good year on the defensive side of the ball, and we feel good about the five defensive linemen, five linebackers, four DBs that we were able to attract in this class.
Well, Auburn uses a strong finish to land what many believe is a top 15 class. The Tigers pick up a top-rated offensive lineman in the Southeast, Avery Young, and they hung on to a four-star wide receiver, Ricardo Lewis, who had decommitted from Auburn just a couple weeks ago. And Fairhope offensive lineman Robert Leff signs with the Tigers today. He's 6'6", 270 pounds, originally committed to Southern Miss, but when the Tigers offered, he says it was their dream school. Couldn't pass it up. Coach Gene Chizik called it a great day today. Young certainly helped that. They pick up some much-needed skill position players as well. Only one running back, though, Javon Robinson, 215 out of Kentucky. Also Zeke Pike out of Kentucky, big kid, 6'6", 225. So probably maybe not a spread quarterback at that size. Also Tyler Nero out of Escambia High School in Atmore should help up front on defense. Here's Chizik on his recruiting class.
Both coordinators jumped in with both feet and really went out there and re-recruited everybody in terms of getting to know, all the guys that were both committed and guys that we were trying to get committed. So they both did a great job and got to know these guys in a short period of time the best they could.
The Auburn staff had to pull together with a lot of changes on their staff. So who has the best class this year? You never really know, I guess, for a couple years, maybe 3 years. But right now, the recruiting expert sites say it's Alabama and Texas, a close second probably. The Tide with the best class according to 24/7 Sports and Rivals. And the number 2 behind Texas on Scout.com's list. You see Auburn 14th, 17th, and 11th in those on those three sites. Urban Meyer's new team, Ohio State, and his former team, Florida, did pretty well. Nobody had a better final day than Florida State, which picked up a handful of five-star players, and they're also still expecting to sign a Hueytown quarterback, Jameis Winston. And Southern Cal, you see 7th in Rivals rankings. That's despite all those sanctions, only having 15 scholarships. Well, the freshman Joey Jones signs to South Alabama today. Will get to play the likes of Mississippi State, Tennessee, Hawaii, Navy, and Georgia, and even LSU down the road here. So an important class, and Jones gets a big physical tight end in Viger's Paul Kiles today. He can catch the ball pretty well, too. He's one of 20 players they signed today. That's not counting a couple of D1 transfers and 5 JC players already on board. They pick up a lot of in-state players, 12 from Alabama, 6 from Florida. They get another quarterback from Canada. That's the second one on their roster. Wanted to get better on the lines and in the secondary as well. Coach Joey Jones knows it's a solid class based on who they had to recruit against this year.
Before we might be, beating a 1AA school and that type of thing, and so you just look at who we've beaten on these players. It's good Division I programs that are great in the Sun Belt and the Conference USA, and in some cases some SEC schools.
Jones sporting the spectacles today. Other signings, Murphy's KJ May signs with Minnesota. Blunt High School, Kelton Brackett, Larry Petaway, a couple of defensive backs are going to be teammates still at UAB. At Fairhope, Kyron Samuels sporting that smile. He's going to East Mississippi Junior College for a semester, then he's going to transfer into Mississippi State. He was kind of in that numbers game as well. Torn McGaster at Daphne, headed to the SEC. He's going to Vandy. His teammate Jeremy Sparks to Louisiana Lafayette. In Gulf Shores, his quarterback Brandon Silvers signed to Troy, and middle linebacker Tyler Stargell is going to go to Georgia Tech. And one other kid, Davidson's Chris Catcher, who didn't get to play this year because he came from Faith Academy, had transfer issues. He's going to Florida State. He could be the biggest beast out of this area.
Yeah.
He was like number 7 defensive end in the country, and he hasn't had a chance to play for a year, so watch out for him at Florida State.
All right.
Chance to rest up.
Yeah, he's well rested.